Alnwick Garden in Northumberland. The Duchess and her team have spent 6 years planning to make her dream of an internationally recognised garden for Alnwick come true. Now, the contractors are getting towards the end of the first phase of building. It's autumn. The garden is open to the public and the reaction has been favourable. But now the weather has changed and the summer visitors have gone. And the financial climate has changed too. Since the international events of September, sponsors for the next phase are proving hard to come by. But the Duchess is undeterred and confident that the money needed to build additional phases of the garden can be raised. When it comes to business, the Duchess has proved that she isn't afraid to take the big decisions to achieve her goals. But it's being in the garden getting her hands dirty that she enjoys the most, and even rescuing frogs when the occasion arises.
Oh. Okay, here we are. Well, what do I do with it? Oh my God, it's going. Yeah, there it goes.
Chris Goff has been appointed head gardener and is getting to grips with his new challenge.
What I'm doing at the moment, I'm tying all these roses in. The most important time for climbers of this stature is the formative years, first 2 or 3 years, because you're building up the actual frame which will hold all the next year's plants and the forthcoming year's plants as well, all the flowers. So generally speaking, every 6 to 8 inches we're tying them in. Quite tight, because as you can imagine in the northeast, if you get severe gales and things, the potential there to damage the plants. It's amazing actually, although it's been wet, it's also been incredibly mild, and as you can see by all this abundant growth, it's just growing just as if it was the middle of August. This time of the year, I'm looking to what I call winterise the garden really. Simply finish off the last weeds and cut back any of the perennials that have gone over, and then just lightly fork all the beds and then put all the gardens and ready for the winter time. So also a part of my job at this time of the year, I'm clipping back all the lavenders. We can have a walk along here if you like, they're only here, quite close. It's quite important, this is. What you must never do with lavenders is cut into the hardwood. If you cut into the hardwood, you can potentially kill the plant. So all you're looking to do actually is just literally give it a haircut. By all means, never ever cut into the hardwood. It's always the green. And then all we're going to look to do is square it off at the top and square the sides. So we're going to create a hedge. This is a brand new garden, planted quite late. And of course, because they've been planted late, they're flowering late. But for the beginning of October, there's absolutely abundance of colour. Really good.
One of Chris's first tasks is to show a group of professional gardeners his new patch.
I mean, when you go into this garden, it's so intense. So we will need lots and lots of helpers. A bit unique as well. Been involved with peach limes before, but not with peach crabapple.
I've never seen that.
No, it's.
You know where they got the idea?
Again from Holland. Yeah, again from Holland.
What a concept, you know, it's to look at it right from the beginning down to the end, you know, it's just big, it's big.
Big. Everything's on a big scale. Everything seems very high. The pergolas are high and the ponds are high, but I think it will grow into it. Needs a bit of time to sort of grow into itself, perhaps.
A lot of work to keep going, you know, to keep tidy.
First impressions were theme park, not quite Alton Towers, but that type of theme park feel to it. But it has to be spending £14 million to get that. But very nice, very impressive. But Chris has a huge job in his hands, and perhaps he'll have less mud in his hands and more muddled brain with administration and looking after the place. But a wonderful opportunity.
It's a modern garden, and we need modern gardens. Something for this century. and I think it's good. I think it's going to be very labour intensive. You'll need a lot of people to pay for it coming through the gate. It'd be quite fantastic.
I could be making a very, very expensive mistake if I got something wrong. One area that's going to be dicey is in the Cascade, and the Vits have always been very happy to see water, but they weren't really quite so keen on me making it jump and making it busy all the time. And in the Cascade, we have to have all these nozzles, and they were very keen that they should be verdigris and they should be hidden, but that we couldn't hide them satisfactorily. You were always going to see that they were there. And I said, well, let's not be ashamed of what we're doing. We're making a contemporary garden. Let's go for really shiny silver steel nozzles. They're about this size, and they stick out through those holes. And then we have 4 enormous big plugs. They're called bell mouths, and the water goes into them at the end. And then a jet sticking out of that, so it jumps over your head. And I suspect they must be a bit horrified, really, by that. But again, it was compromise. I think I would let something go on their part, and they would let me have my silver jets.
Ronnie Newlands has been travelling over from Belgium every week to oversee the work on the ground. His job is to keep an eye on the planting to make sure the designer's ideas are being carried out precisely according to the specification.
I'm doing now a check-up so that I can forward to David Austin how many extra plants that we need or they are dead that we have to replace now in this autumn. My job or role was here in the garden to follow up every week what's happening here, and if they do their work conform the specifications, and the watching eye of Big Brother if there's nothing different than what we write down in the specifications.
There's different roses growing, different beds sort of thing. They're all numbered, and there's about up to anything from 2 to 7 roses growing each one. And what we do is we plant them in the soil up to where the knuckle is. The knuckle is about 2 inches below the level of the ground, and then we just firm them in to make sure they get a nice hold, and we put plenty of bone meal on, and we dip them in the water and firm the soil up after that and make it nice and fluffy. So the bed looks nice.
Oh, I'm very pleased, especially because it's very hard work or a different landscape work than usual. And even to the main contractor, McAlpine, it was very new for them, or a total different job, and they have done many or a lot of extra effort to make it like we have always expected to see it at finished.
As the weather is deteriorating, the pressure is on for McAlpines to complete the project. For the men on the ground, it's a battle with the mud.
And then I'll get the paperwork in. I should have it here tomorrow.
Go ahead.
Right.
Right, that's the bag of cement, the back of the van, Bobby. I've got 2 rollers with it. And 3 I'll drop them in the office.
Right, thank you. I'm on my way down for them now. With the weather we've been having, obviously you can see what state the site's in. But we'll be there or thereabouts, This week we've been more or less catching up on things that we haven't been able to do for a couple of days because we haven't been able to get access. Only access we've got is the east side of the Cascade, and that's just been completely a no-no. So what we've had to do now is to put a road in, a stone road we're going to have to take out as we come out again.
Construction of the Grand Cascade is complete. It's the centrepiece of the garden. At last, the tap is turned on, and to everyone's relief, the water goes just where it should. Phase 1 is almost over, but there are still the fountains and jets to get right. It is winter in the garden, and the ice is flowing in the cascade. All construction has stopped for Christmas. The next phase includes the pavilion, which is central to the plan to open the garden at night.
Without phase 2, I'm in a bit of trouble because I haven't got a venue, A, for the waterworks, for the lighting. I've got no reason to open the garden at night without my pavilion. I need the pavilion so people will come in at night. If they do that, I can then put the lighting in so they have a spectacle. It's sort of chicken and egg at the moment.
The programme for phase 2 that was prepared was on the basis that we don't have to go back for
There are tough decisions ahead. The Duchess hopes to build the pavilion, but there are worried faces round the table.
The indications are from Colin at his meeting with the planners that we will have to go back for a new planning application.
And when can that go for planning?
Well, once we've got your approval on the pavilion. I would agree with that. Yeah.
Anyway, no, I think it looks perfect. Do you think? What are you worried about?
It's just the size, that we can afford it.
Yeah.
That's all.
It's a difficult one because no point building something like this that's glass and beautiful, if it's too small.
Yeah.
We can't build onto it again.
Yeah.
I like seeing things working well. I get irritated by the smaller things. I mean, I'd say I'm quite a perfectionist. Oh God, takes a bit of admitting that. And I think if you're building something, especially on this scale, you can't nitpick. It's got to be beautiful. Everything has to be the best. So with a pavilion, I'm already thinking about the floor finishes.
I mean, there are ways and elements of the construction which we could reduce in cost terms. That does have an impact, obviously, on the type of materials you use and on the quality of the materials you use. For example, we've got zinc roofing. Maybe we should only be using zinc in the sensitive areas, like on the terraces.
I think we should go for it though, according to his spec. Go for it so we know what we're aiming for, because we're going for the best. If in 6 months' time we know that we're never going to be able to raise the money, then I think we rethink.
Okay.
Because we're not going to start anything this time till the money's there.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think it's been difficult in the past because people didn't know if I could really do what I said I would do. They didn't understand that that this wasn't the Duchess's garden, that I was building a part of the northeast. I haven't had money for any of the television programmes. If I got money for the book, the story of how the garden was made, that money would have to go into the trust for phase 2, and that the garden can't take a profit. And that's a lot for people to understand. And I think that now I've got this far, it will be an easier one for businesses to come to terms with. I'm hoping. That's me being optimistic.
Are you a natural optimist?
Yes, huge optimist, ridiculously optimistic. I always think there's something good around the corner. Even if the worst thing in the world happens, something good will come of it. Hope is Pandora's box.
It is now the end of January, and the final preparations are underway for the official switching on of the cascade. The few contractors who are left are still battling with the mud, but it hasn't put them off wanting to come back and finish the job off next year.
I mean, most of the men are gone now. I think I've got 2 joiners left. I think most of the men would have liked the idea of going on to the second phase straight away, like, because we've enjoyed this job that much, you know. And I think half of them, including myself, think, well, if we get moved on to another job, we might get back here on the second phase, you know. Hopefully we will.
I've learnt a hell of a lot, yeah, definitely. Mainly the concrete and how we can manipulate concrete with the shuttering. It's really interesting. It's been really good.
Everybody who looks around the cascade, who now comes to the garden, can't believe the beauty that 150 odd blokes from around these parts have managed to create. But I mean, that goes down to the Duchess and down to Peter Wirtz, and really to the drawings and the ideas that they had. We're just the mugs who've managed to pull it together. Been digging the cascade down through running sand and water, old deposits from the Ice Age left on the way to the river. We've worked up through those, out of the ground, into the dry. Got the cascade to look right, got it to work right now. The finishings have gone down, as you can see. The stone looks good, the paths are still very, very wet under our feet. But we're just waiting for the green of spring to come along, and then it really will be great to come back, have a cup of coffee, have a picnic with my family one weekend, and not worry about what's still left to do.
Jordan, can you turn the water on, please?
Despite the gales, a large crowd has turned out to see the water displays turned on. It's another media opportunity, and the day goes without a hitch in front of the cameras, even if the wind spray is unpredictable.
Oh my God! Well, I think it's wonderful. It's wonderful. It's everything I thought it would be, and even in these gales today, I just think it adds another dimension to it. It's really beautiful. It looks like the sea. It sort of billows across the cascade, and I think it's very exciting. I think it's going to be fantastic fun for children who are going to love getting wet here. I mean, I suppose, if you're doing a project on this scale, you're never really happy till you've done what you said you would do. And I'm very happy with the work to date, but I'm really only seeing this as a beginning. I'm only halfway there.
With perseverance, the project team hopes to attract the sponsorship it needs to become the biggest new project of its kind in Europe for over a century.
I think it's just that as I've got older, I really sometimes stop and think, now what makes people stop and think? What really hits you as being beautiful or sort of magical? and water to me was that thing.
There's the pavilion to be built to house events and a restaurant, the Treehouse Education Centre, the Poison Garden, the Quiet Garden, the Labyrinth and Spiral Garden, and the nighttime lighting and music effects. These are only some of the plans for the future. But that's next year's story.
I sometimes think it's very hard for other people to think the same way that I'm thinking. And I'm amazed they don't understand, or I'm amazed that some people say to me, "My God, Jane, it's beautiful." I had no idea, and I think, well, why not? Because I always said this was what I was going to do. It's been a sort of long and tricky struggle so far, but now I've got something to show for it. Actually, it's going to be easier. I hope. Optimism again. Feel really happy in here if somebody can sit down and think this is unbelievable, what a beautiful place. If you can stop and register for a minute that you're happy, I think then I'll feel I've achieved something.